Hi everyone, Jonathan from structuralbim here, your Autodesk Expert Elite. And today I'm going to look at the newly launched Graitec PowerPack for Advanced Steel 2020. So I've just installed and we're going to take a quick look at some of the new features. So when you install it, you navigate over to the new ribbon and then you get the updated PowerPack. So first things first, the first major change that I can see is they have incorporated a new PowerPack connection vault. So all the extra connections that come with the PowerPack used to be on the ribbon, and they're now migrated onto a connection vault which works similar to the standard Advanced Steel connection vault. So if I just launch that, we have a look, you will see that you get both side by side, and they work in a similar fashion. They are tab based to select the command, and if you look at the Graitec one, they've split it up into the different sections to control the different connections that come with it. And you can see same functionality where you've got the flyout for preview, you've got the standard settings, and then you can also just glue them together as you can with the standard palettes. So we can minimize, we can maximize, we can drop onto each other. So that is pretty cool, just an easy way to access the connections rather than going to the ribbon. They're all in a similar place. The next new feature I want to look at on the PowerPack is this new one called PDF 3D. So when I click it, this will allow me to export my model out to a 3D PDF. So I'm just going to put this on to my desktop, and then we can select the objects we wish to include, and then we can also control the size of the document. So in this instance I could go with a custom size, and all you simply do is click OK. And that will begin the export process from the model environment back to that 3D PDF. So once that's run, just open your PDF and you'll see there you have your document in full 3D where you can orbit it, you can zoom in, have a look round, check everything that you need to check. So pretty cool, pretty easy. Another new feature is the Special Parts Manager. So it took me a little bit of time to figure out how this works. So what allows you to do is that it's looking at the threaded rod macro, and I think the plan probably would be that this will work with other macros in the future, but for now it just seems to be for the threaded rod. So to show it working, I'm going to basically put in a threaded rod between these two beams. So I'm going to go to the connection vault, bracings tab, threaded rod. So it's beam 1, then beam 2, and then it's going to be the points between the beams. So point 1 to point 2, and that should put in a threaded rod. So what this manager allows you to do is that if we look at, say, the first nut, that under the shape you can see that there is a special part section, and that will activate and then allow you to pick different types of special parts. And what the manager will do, it will allow you to manage and categorize them parts so they're available within the macro. So no editing of databases, just quick and simple. So we're in the threaded rod, we're going to look at the nut component, and then I can simply add in a new line, and I'm going to add in an M12 dome nut. So you give it a text description and then you browse to the special part, and I'm going to look for a special part, and I've got one in the folder here, M12 dome nut, and then I can simply click the replace button as I've already got in my model, and you'll see that I've now got a new entry, dome knot, and there's a little save button here. So if I click save, that will save it. And then if I close that down, once I go back to the threaded rod macro, that new part will now should hopefully be available. And you can see there, once I select it, and then don't create a mirrored part, we have a look here, and if I just, let's say, adjust these washers, and we say there's 2 of them, you will see, there you go. And it seems to be a very quick and easy way to manage the special parts that will be available in the PowerPack connections. It doesn't seem to manage obviously the standard special parts, but it's obviously linked into the macros, so it's quite cool, easy to use. Just basically launch it, add your parts to the macro, and then they will be available in the So there is a new bolting pattern command, and it's on the connecting elements, and you see there's an asymmetric connecting pattern. So previously there was staggered connections, and now they've introduced this asymmetric. So we select it, I'm going to put some bolts on this beam, select it, and I'm going to put an origin point, let's say in the middle of the beam there, and you'll see it launches the macro. So obviously very similar to previous stuff, it's all dialog box driven. So I'm going to put in the connector type, in this instance let's say it's going to be bolts. That will then activate the bolt tab, and I can, let's say, take them down to 16s, and then we can start looking at the pattern. So what we have is we've got values X and Y, and you can select a field, click delete, and it will simply delete the value out. And if we say there was 1 spacing and we change this to 1, you will see this is now what we get. So I'm just going to offset these, let's say -15 at -15 in the x-axis to put them in the center. And if we orbit this round, we can have a look and see we just need to change the spacing. So if I set the spacing on X to be, let's say 50, and we say -25, we now get our bolts. So the way the asymmetric pattern works is that you have a spacing here, you can see 1 of 100, you see that will adjust it there, but if I, let's say, set that to 2, it will now do 2, and I can add in a separate row, and I could say I want 4 bolts at 50, and then I can return to the pattern, add a new line in. I can go again, I want to return it to 2, and again we could say 75, or if we wanted to change this to 3 or 43 in this instance. So pretty easy to use, just set it out, let's say 150 for the first one, then we've got 3 at 50, and then 2. So pretty easy to use, just set up the patterns. If we wanted to add in another bolt spacing, it will, or we could go, let's say we want 4 that way. So it will just keep building and building the asymmetric pattern. And again, we can edit it that way, so all is pretty customizable and changeable. It also will do bolts, anchors, holes, shear studs, and you can also do the welding if you're going with the studs. So the final thing that I want to look at is one of the best things in it, I think, is this new, there's 2 new tools here that check the drawing for any main parts or any single parts that have not been detailed onto a drawing sheet. So quite often you're in a big project and you don't know where you are between the document manager and the beams that you've detailed. You can basically just select. So I've got this one here called check SP drawing, so this will check all the single parts. You simply just click it, it will scan the drawing and the document manager, and then it will mark the objects in the advanced steel model. So I'm running quite a big model, so it's going to take a second or two to run through. You can see straight away it's turned the beams that are not detailed on single part drawings all red. And then if I clear the marking and then run it on the main parts, it will again repeat the process but scan the drawing, but this time look for the main parts of the assemblies. And you can see straight away it's highlighted a different set of components that are not detailed. So yeah, that's a pretty good add into the PowerPack for me. Check your main parts and also your single parts.